Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
Yo, what's going on, Nick?
What's up, Parth? We're into the top 5, and today at number 4, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But before we talk about them, here's a clip from last season.
Down and off. Westbrook to forecourt.
Man, Russell Westbrook just stays putting people on posters.
Honestly, I love Russell Westbrook, and I love this play.
Dude, the teammates' reaction to that dunk was insane. I think when I was watching this on highlights, the day it happened, I jumped out of my seat.
Yo, Russell's awesome. He was crazy at the end of last season. I'm pretty excited to watch him and KD play this year. But let's talk about this ranking. You think this is a fair rank for OKC?
Going into the season, after what they did last season without Durant, I think his addition brings him definitely into the top 5. I maybe would put them behind the Clippers and maybe Houston, just because those teams don't have to reincorporate a star into their lineup. But I think at the end of the year, I mean, the OKC is my favorite to win the West. So I think at the end of the year, they'll be in the top 3. But a preseason rank, I think I would have a couple of teams ahead of them.
Yeah, I just see Kevin Durant coming back this year and having a huge season. And I know the teammate Russell Westbrook knows, OKC front office knows, Billy Donovan knows that if they don't do well this season, there's a chance that Kevin Durant could leave. So I think they're going to put it all on the table, do or die this season for the
Right,
Thunder.
yeah, it's definitely a do or die championship or bust season for them.
So that's one reason I think they're a little bit higher. I could see your argument with the other teams, but like you said, at the end of the year, it's going to be hard to beat OKC with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I agree.
Those two alone. And then you got Serge Ibaka. It's a big thing for them, I think, is health, because their team is so talented. They added some nice bench pieces last year at the trade deadline. So if they're healthy, they'll be a great team.
Dude, if you remember at the beginning of last season, I think Russell Westbrook was like the only healthy person on this team. Of course, Dion Waiters wasn't there at the time. I don't think, DJ Augustine wasn't there either. A lot of their players that they have now were not healthy at the beginning of the season. It was basically just Westbrook, and then he got hurt like the first or second game of the year with, I think, the broken hand, or he fractured something within his hand, and then this team just spiraled down, just kept losing and losing without anyone anyone within the regular rotation playing. I remember they had Sebastian Telfair as their starting point guard, and I haven't really paid attention to Sebastian Telfair since I saw his Through the Fire, that documentary that ESPN did when he was in high school, which was an excellent documentary. But I mean, he hasn't really been relevant since then.
Exactly, he hasn't been relevant. That was a tough stretch to watch. OKC was tough to watch, but when they got the guys back, they really turned it up. But it still wasn't enough because they had more injuries. But let's talk about key returners. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Enes Kanter, Steven Adams, Dion Waiters, DJ Augustine. A lot of guys coming back.
As far as the returners, I like Serge Ibaka. I think he needs to have a huge season for OKC and take the next step in his development. I know he got a little 3 happy last season. I think him shooting threes is great. Especially now that they have a low post scorer in Kanter, so it'll just further space the floor. But I think he shouldn't live and die by the 3-point shot. I think his physical gifts are too great for him to just stand out there and fire away threes and not put any real pressure on the defense, which he is capable of doing. I've seen a lot of tweets from people who cover the Thunder saying, hey, he's come back he's added a lot to his game. He's definitely had the most growth in his game this offseason. So Serge Ibaka, I think, needs to step into that. I don't know if he's the 3rd option. Maybe he's the 4th with Enes Kanter on the court, but he definitely needs to give them a little bit of what James Harden was able to give them as far as scoring punch and reliability as the third cog in the big 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because Serge is another guy that needs to stay healthy as well. But like you mentioned, he improved his game a lot. I remember when he first came in the league, he was just playing defense and he was a shot blocker. He added to that jump shot. Like you mentioned, he's at the 3-point line now. Maybe shoots him a little bit too much, but if he works in the paint, uses that athleticism, I think that could really help the Thunder. And I think he's going to have a big season. But I love me some Kevin Durant. I think that he's going to come back this year and have a huge year. I think, what was that, the USA training camp, he said he's the best player in the world. So watch out for Durant this year.
Yeah, people are like underrating Durant now for some reason. Like they just forgot how good he is. Like he's clearly the number 2. It's just, in my opinion, it's him and LeBron at the top tier, and then 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th are on just like a tier below. It's easily those two at all the way at the top, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny how people just forget about someone when they're injured. Because when Kevin Durant's on, like he's literally unguardable. He's so long. His game, he can handle the ball, he can shoot. He's been working his post game. That like little mid-range, like fadeaway one-handed shot he does sometimes, that's unguardable. You know what I mean? So
he's easily one of the most unique players in NBA history.
Yeah, I definitely love watching Kevin Durant. Let's talk about offseason moves. I mean, the Thunder really didn't do a whole lot. They did change coaches, though.
Billy Donovan coming from Florida now to OKC. I know Billy Donovan had people were like really hesitant when he actually accepted the job, because he accepted Orlando's gig a couple seasons ago and then didn't really take it. It was like, I want to go back to Florida. And then so I remember I have some Orlando Magic fans, some of my friends who were like, I don't believe this Billy Donovan hype. He might not actually take the job. But I mean, coming into this situation is awesome just because you have Durant, Westbrook, Ibaka. You have a championship ready roster. But then there's also that expectation too that, hey, if you guys don't win it this season, Durant might be out. And if Durant's out, Russell might go to LA afterwards when he's a free agent in the next 2-3 seasons. So it's a lot of pressure on Billy Donovan to perform.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure on him, like you said, because if they do bad this year, Kevin Durant easily could be out of the door and headed maybe to Washington. So he has the pressure, and this team is really talented, so they do just want to win a championship, in general. So I think he will help the team, though. Scott Brooks at times I don't know, he just wasn't doing the things right. His offense was terrible, and his rotation sometimes I didn't even understand.
Yeah, one thing that people did not like about Scott Brooks, and by people I mean like media members, I think he was beloved by all the players. I think he was a real players coach, and so I don't think any of the players will say this, but his offense really just looked like, hey, let's run a pick and roll for Durant or Westbrook, and let's see if they can get us something.
Exactly.
And, with Harden there, that worked at times just because you had 2 other legit options that could score at any given time, whether they have the ball or not. But now when you just have Durant and Westbrook, you can really like key in on those 2 guys and make their shots a lot more difficult, make their looks a lot more difficult. And so I don't think it ended up working out for this team. I think with Harden, if they still had Harden, Scott Brooks would have been fine. But I think losing him for keeping Kendrick Perkins, like they could have kept Harden if they just wanted to amnesty Perkins, but they didn't want to do that. So,
and it's funny because they re-signed Cantor and that puts them over the cap, but they wouldn't do that for Harden, so it makes no sense.
I mean, in their defense, they do have the like no one could have predicted the spike in the salary cap in 2012 when Harden was traded. So I mean, they only have 1 season, I believe, over the tax, or over the cap. I'm not sure where they are. They're one of those 2. But I mean, next season they'll be under again.
But I always look at it like this.
If the deal with Durant doesn't push them over, that is.
Exactly. And then I always look at it like this way. If your team's doing really well, if they kept Harden, there's a good chance they could have been in the finals every year. You know what I mean? They were going to be a great team. So I feel like you're going to make money back other ways if your team is that great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you'll get like the extra income through like playoff tickets and playoff merchandise and all that kind of stuff.
Especially if you have a dynasty, and OKC is a really popular team, especially if they had Durant. James Harden alone has a brand himself with a beard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right. And the thing with small market teams is, yes, if you want to have a profit, you can't be in the tax just because of your location and the media availability and all that kind of stuff. But I think now with like the internet and all that kind of stuff, it's easier to be a small market team and still be able to make money. Obviously, I'm no financial advisor or anything like that. I don't know about team finances, but I know a lot of these small market teams barely break even or make a small profit in terms of like maybe 10, 20 million profit for the owner. And then he has to split that within like the ownership group and all that stuff. That's if they're not in the tax. But when you draft so well and like get Durant, Westbrook, Ibaka, and Harden, I know Jalen and Bill Simmons talked about this. Like maybe they got a little arrogant thinking they could find the next James Harden when they traded him away. And obviously that wasn't the case with Jeremy Lamb, since he's now, where's Lamb now, in Charlotte?
Yeah, he's in Charlotte.
Yeah, he's somewhere else. So they might have gotten a little arrogant thinking they could just find another one. But when you, as a small market team, you'll only have so many chances to be a title contending team, and you have to go all in when you do have it. And so now I think they're learning from their mistake in a sense. They're definitely going all in for this season. So I mean, there's a silver lining in the Harden trade. Of course, they didn't want to make it if it wasn't for financial reasons, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and they can't do anything about it now. But is there any off-season moves that stick out to you that you didn't like? I know they really didn't do a lot. They drafted Cameron Payne. They lost Perry Jones III and Jeremy Lamb.
I don't know why Perry Jones III never worked out. He always seems kind of lackadaisical when he plays. Maybe that's what it was. But coming out of Baylor, I know when he was in Baylor, they were always talking about him as being like, I wouldn't say KD 2.0, but a similar play style, similar type build as Kevin Durant. Obviously, just didn't work out. Not nearly as skilled for Perry Jones, but he's still young. Never know what could happen with him. But I do like the addition of Cameron Payne. I think him learning under I don't think learning under Westbrook is going to be the route to go for Cameron Payne. I think having DJ Augustine there, though, to learn under will be great, because Augustine's a vet. People underestimate the ability to stick around in the NBA. Like, if you're not good, if you can't play, you will be out of the league. And DJ Augustine has stuck around. So Cameron Payne, I think he's probably a little bit bigger than Augustine. I don't think Augustine's a big dude. I think Cameron Payne might be 6'2", 6'3".
Right.
But yeah, he could learn from that play style. And DJ Augustine's been a capable backup his entire career. And so Cameron Payne, I think, will eventually take that role from him. I don't know if – I know this team – they'll make a deep playoff run. So I don't know if Payne will be able to take that backup spot this season. But I think – I don't know how long DJ Augustine has remaining on his contract. But if Cameron Payne is able to take the spot this season, I think DJ Augustine could be expendable.
Yeah.
You can probably get some value somewhere else for him.
They could do that, or I know OKC doesn't mind playing two-guard lineup. You can easily play Russell at the 2 with his size sometimes and his athleticism. So there could be some extra minutes going around for a point guard if you play Russell a little bit more at 2-guard. But I don't know if Payne will get a ton of minutes, depending on how he plays. But I've heard a lot of good things about him. Yeah,
the thing is, too, like Russell Westbrook's style, he's been pretty durable throughout his career until Patrick Beverley took out his knee. But until then, I don't think he'd missed a game. So it's really like the last 2 seasons where injuries have been a concern for Westbrook. But just the play style he has, he could go down at any minute. So Cameron Payne might be pushed into a role in which he's the second point guard on the team.
Yeah, Russell's so explosive than Payne, like you said, that is always a possibility. Last year, would he catch that elbow in the face too, and he had like that hole in his side of his cheek? You remember that?
That was Alvin Roberson that hit him. It was friendly fire. And he had a hit in his face. It was insane.
Yeah, that's tough. Let's talk about X factors for the Thunder this season.
Well, my X factor it's got to be health, right? Like, this team had a championship contending roster last season, and then lo and behold, they're a lottery team just because Durant can't play the entire season, and then Westbrook is hurt. Ibaka has arthroscopic knee surgery, and so, man, it's a tough road in the West. But I think now with a full year with Enes Kanter, I think if they do sustain an injury to either Westbrook or Durant, they'll be able to stay afloat and still make the playoffs. But if both of them get hurt, I think they could possibly do the 8th seed, but it'll be tough.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because Health is going to be a big factor, like you said. They need Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant to stay healthy. They also need Ibaka to stay healthy too. Those guys stay healthy, this is a deadly team, and they're ready to win the West. Also, I think one thing to keep an eye on is probably just like how they gel with Billy Donovan's new system. If he can really take advantage of having Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook on the same team. At times, I felt like Scott Brooks didn't do that. So
Right. It was like a take turn sort of thing. Like, all right, Russell, you're in charge of this quarter. All right, KD, you're the number one option this quarter. That's what it felt like at times. I'm sure that's not what it was, but it looked
felt
like it.
that. Yeah. Honestly, one thing I'd like to see, just because they have two unique skill sets, I'd like to see Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant pick and rolls more. Just because
that'd be impossible to guard.
Because if you're getting that switch of point guard on Durant, Durant's can shoot right over the top. Even if that guy's crowding him, he's going to get an easy basket. You know what I mean? And then some small forwards aren't able to deal with Russell Westbrook's explosiveness.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt.
I'd love to see that a lot more.
Yeah, I think even if they do sustain injuries, maybe the Billy Donovan offense that he ends up installing will have like a safety net within that. Maybe like more ball movement, more player movement, maybe just better offense that OKC doesn't have to rely on KD and Westbrook doing everything.
Yeah, because they do have a little bit talent on that roster. Like we mentioned, they have Deion Waiters, DJ Augustine. Anthony Moreau is a great shooter. He's one of my favorite shooters in the league. That guy can just catch fire.
Yeah, Anthony Moreau is a solid 3-point option.
One time he was on the Nets back in the day, New Jersey Nets. In one game, he had 40 points, and most of it was just from threes.
Yeah, dude can flat out shoot it.
Best case scenario for the Thunder.
You know, every team going forward now, it's championship or bust.
Yeah, definitely. Championship or bust. I think best case scenario, everything works out. Billy Donovan comes in, has a great first season as a coach. The Thunder walk away with the championship, and Kevin Durant resigns, and we got an OKC dynasty.
Right.
Worst case scenario for the Thunder.
Well, worst case, I think if they don't win a championship and Durant isn't satisfied with Billy Donovan or how just things are being run in OKC, he leaves. I know an option that he has is definitely DC. I think he's from the area, and so returning home. And it's not the same thing as LeBron returning home because Kevin Durant has never played in DC. Like he could have gone to school around DC area, like he could have gone to Georgetown or whatever, but he chose to go to Texas. So I don't know if his connection with DC as far as playing there is that great. But I mean, people have been hyping it up for a while. And then another contender is always Miami. The fact that Pat Riley can get a meeting with LaMarcus Aldridge this offseason with having no cap space is unbelievable. Just the fact that he can get a meeting and LaMarcus will sit down and talk to him. And I think Pat Riley's pitch was, "Hey, sign for one season, and then we'll get you on board next year." But I mean, obviously it didn't work. But I think you can never underestimate Pat Riley and what he can do, and he's done it with LeBron. So, and it was crazy talk back in 2009. If you brought up, "Hey, LeBron might go to Miami after his contract expires with Cleveland," but it's not crazy talk now. It's been done before, and it can happen again.
Yeah, I would agree. Worst case is they lose Durant. They have a rough season, injuries. He doesn't buy into OKC, and he's out of town. Like you mentioned, DC, Miami's definitely a possible destination. I would say Golden State. I've heard a lot of rumors about that too. Just how crazy would that be having Kevin Durant there with the system?
Insane. The shooting capability of that team would go. I mean, it's already through the roof, but it would just sky would be the limit.
Yeah, it would be crazy. I wonder how many nationally televised games they would get if that was the case.
They would be on national TV basically every time they played.
Yeah, it would be awesome. And then obviously there's some other places that have been mentioned, but it'll be tough unless the Thunder have a rough season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he resigns. But it's always fun to talk about.
Exactly. We'll be talking about it a lot for sure this year. All right, so let's move on to the truth.
For the truth today, we have the broken heart emoji, and this could go for two things. You could symbolize this as OKC season last year when they had a legitimate title hopes, and then everyone just got hurt. Everyone just got brokenhearted in OKC. Isn't that a song? I swear that's a song by like Carmen or something. I don't know. But it also could symbolize this next offseason if Durant decides to leave. And I I don't know if he's gonna have the same response as LeBron did when he left Cleveland, with all like the jerseys, the burning of jerseys and people crying on national TV, which was really weird, by the way. Like, don't cry if someone leaves. Someone decided to go change their location for their workplace, and someone cries about it. That's a little weird. But yeah, I mean, losing Durant would be a heartbreaking blow to the city.
Yeah, personally, I kind of just love Kevin Durant. OKC. It'll be definitely weird if he decides to change teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about League Pass. Are you going to watch the Thunder on League Pass this year?
Well, the Thunder have 24 nationally televised games, which is a lot. But watching Durant and Westbrook play, Westbrook's easily my favorite player to watch in the league. He's an animal out there. And then Durant's shooting prowess and just touch and skill is something to admire as well, as the second best player in the league. So 24 times watching those two is definitely not enough for me. So I will definitely be tuning into League Pass to watch the Thunder.
I definitely watched a ton of Thunder last season. I'll watch a ton this year. I love watching Russell Westbrook at the end of the season when he was trying to put the team on his back and get him into the playoffs. That was fun to watch. He had a ton of triple doubles, and now Durant's back. I'll probably catch at least a quarter of an OKC game almost every night. I got a tough one for you. Would you rather watch an OKC game or a Miami Heat game?
As you all know by now, or probably know by now, I am a big Miami Heat fan. And so this is tough just because Russell reminds me of a young D Wade in terms of like his play style and stuff, just reckless abandon, always ruthless aggression, attacking the rim. And so that's why he's one of my favorite players right now. But man, I'm watching Miami.
Yeah, you got to stick with your team. Sorry, OKC.
You know what's the ideal middle ground though is they just play each other every night. No,
yeah, there you go. Perfect. That's a fun matchup though. I'll definitely check Miami versus OKC.
Right.
But that wraps it up today. Thank you guys for listening. And our next team, we thought they'd die about 6 years ago.